Deep in the heart of Central Texas, it's the Best of the Outdoors podcast. Brought to you by Texas Fishing Game Magazine, the voice of the Texas outdoor nation. I'm your humble host, Dustin Von Warnke, back with another podcast. So excited to be back in front of this microphone, man. I just get fired up every time I turn this computer on and start recording this show. Absolutely love it. Thank you guys so much for watching, reading, and listening. Thank you guys for subscribing to the podcast and telling a friend. It is free. You get a new show every 2 weeks, and this is just an awesome way to share content with you. One of my favorite ways to create content is the audio platform because you can listen to it anywhere and engage with it however you'd like, and I just really appreciate you guys tuning in and checking out this show. So, if you've not listened to the podcast before, we give a new show out every 2 weeks, typically on Thursdays. Sometimes we give a bonus show as we did in the last podcast for the Houston fishing show that we were at, and a lot of fun times there for sure. You can download this podcast on all kinds of different platforms such as iTunes. I talked to a lot of you guys at the Houston Fishing Show about iTunes and how you can download this on your iPhone or Android through Stitcher, or there's just a wide variety of places. Spotify, iHeartRadio, Alexa, believe it or not. Just ask Alexa for the latest episode of the Best of the Outdoors podcast. Google Home, I just found this out because we have both an Alexa and a Google Home in my house. And you can find it on that too. Play the latest episode of the Best of the Outdoors podcast, and you can find it that way as well. So all over the place, just having so much fun doing this show, guys, and I just really enjoy sharing this with you guys. This is a fishing show this week. 2 shows ago we had a hunting show, and then we had a fishing show. I try to do every other show a hunting or fishing show, kind of alternate and keep things fresh. We're entering at the end of this week that I'm releasing this podcast, and I'm releasing it a little bit later this time than I normally do. Just been really busy lately. We normally release these on Thursdays, and the end of this week is turkey season when this podcast releases in our zone of the North Zone here where I live in Central Texas. And got a lot of luck for you guys. I ran into a rattlesnake last year while I was turkey hunting. I've got a place this year that I'm going to try to go and see if I can't bag me one. And I just hope if you're going out in the turkey woods, watch for those rattlesnakes, man. They will pop up all over the place. And I darn near got bit by one last year so while I was turkey hunting. But turns out turkey loads work pretty well for shotgun loads for turkey work pretty well on snakes. So that's just kind of something I found out. There wasn't much of that snake left after we took care of it. So anyway, but I wish you guys the best. Just finished today. This is Sunday night when I'm recording this. Just finished the fun shoot with Hill Country Bow Hunters, and man, was that a blast. We had a silent auction. It did really well. We had raffles. We had archery golf. I don't know if you've ever heard of that, but there's a thing that you can get. It's a game that you can get where you basically shoot an arrow with a golf ball in the end, and it basically travels across the plane, if you will, and has a trajectory to it a little bit different than your normal arrow, and you basically just shoot for a score. It's pretty cool. 3D archery, if you guys are bow hunters and not into 3D archery, it is so much fun. It is like playing golf around your bow. You shoot for a score. It's just a lot of fun. There's a 30 target course set up in the woods with all kinds of different shot scenarios and everything like that. And the fun shoot had a lot of challenges. It's kind of a deceptive course this year that I heard a lot of people say that they lost a few arrows on in here and there. One of the better shooters we have lost 3 arrows on the course this year. So anyway, it was a good shoot. And I won my son at the silent auction. Only thing I won at silent auction this year was a hog dog hunt. And I'll talk more about that when he goes. My son Jackson's 9 years old. The guy that is going to be guiding this hunt specializes in women and children for hog dog hunts with a knife. And I'm really excited. I've got a bunch of Bowie knives. I used to hog dog hunt a lot back, I guess, 10, 12 years ago. And then I kind of got out of it and just life happened and just got busy and everything like that. But I'm really looking forward to going back and getting Jackson his first hog with a knife and some dogs and really have him understand the outdoors the way that it works in hog hunting, which he's seen videos, but it's kind of cool being there in the adrenaline packed, wilderness, as it were, when there's dogs and all kinds of crazy stuff going on around you. It's pretty heart thumping for sure. So anyway, excited about that. But so far this week, we've got a new podcast up about Derek York, who is a Texas Parks and Wildlife staff. He's one of the, I believe, fisheries biologists, if I'm not mistaken. He'll say so in the podcast, but since I've recorded this before I'm recording this, I don't remember right off the top of my head, but that he definitely has worked for the state for many, many years and does a great job. He also guides fishing trips in Galveston area and really have a good time talking about this stuff. Main subject of this show is the Texas Brigades, and more specifically the coastal brigades of the Texas Brigades. And they just have a lot of different programs and stuff, Texas Parks and Wildlife, as well as Texas Brigades, that's supported in part by some of the Texas Parks and Wildlife initiatives, and just really great stuff. I mean, we talk about conservation, which is one of my favorite subjects. I wasn't really big on conservation before I met Chester Moore with our magazine, and he really got me on the bandwagon as far as preserving the future, and the Texas Brigade's slogan is conserving a resource, preserving a tradition. And that's something, if you listen to the show at all, you know that I'm very passionate about getting our kids in the outdoors and getting away from video games and cell phones and stuff. And my son still, watches plays video games and watches a cell phone, watches YouTube a lot. But I try to get him out in the outdoors as much as I possibly can on fishing and hunting trips. This is a program that basically helps kids that are about 13 to 17 years old, if I'm not mistaken, get involved in the biology of the Texas outdoors, as well as the conservation and the initiatives and those kind of things, and why we do different things, and kind of make them kind of stewards and leaders of the land for the future. And I am just so fired up about this, guys. I mean, I've been wanting to do this podcast with Derek for well over a year now. And finally got the chance to, where he was available and I was available, to knock it out. And he's a great interview, guys. I mean, this is just a lot of fun. So before I get to that, we got to talk about a sponsor and pay for this show a little bit. Pay some bills, as they say. Our sponsor this week is AccuSharp, and they were a sponsor last week as well before the Houston Fishing Show, which we didn't have a sponsor for that one. So anyway, 3 shows this month you get. You don't need expensive knives to cut like a pro. Your knives just need the AccuSharp. It has been tested and reviewed by highly credited magazines, and AccuSharp comes out on top every time. Buy one now at your nearest hardware store and test it for yourself. You will not be disappointed. Order online or buy one at Academy Sports and Outdoors. You can find out more information at AccuSharp.com. That's AccuSharp.com. AccuSharp.com. Love my AccuSharps, guys, and I've got several different sharpeners from several different companies. Some are even unbranded knockoffs and stuff like that, but the AccuSharp that my dad gave me the first time when I was getting into hunting and fishing pretty seriously in my early 20s, I still have it. I've not done any replacements to it. I've used the crud out of it. It's just tough. And I've dropped it, I've kicked it, I don't know how many bad things it has been through, and my follies in the outdoors sometimes, as hard as we try, sometimes things get banged around. It's still kicking, it's still kicking. It still does as good of a job as it did the day I got it on sharpening my knives. So great for fillet knives, great for hunting knives, great for all kinds of different things. Also, new thing that they have coming out this year is a game processing kit. Has your several different, a few different knives, I should say. A sharpener, place for your zip ties, rib spreader, all kinds of different stuff like that. But anyway, Academy Sports and Outdoors carries a wide variety of AccuSharp products. If not, you can find out more on their website at AccuSharp.com. That's AccuSharp.com. Thank you, AccuSharp. We love you guys. Thank you guys so much for supporting our show and our Facebook page and our digital properties and our print magazine. It means the world to us that you guys support us. So that is a great partner to have. So thank you guys at AccuSharp. All right, Texas Brigades, getting into our podcast. Excited about this. I've got Derek's information in the show notes. I'll talk about that a little bit after the show as well. But here we go with our interview with Mr. Derek York from Texas Parks and Wildlife and Texas Brigades. Here we go. Joining me on the phone, Mr. Derek York from Texas Parks and Wildlife and Coastal Brigades. How you doing this morning, Derek?
Man, I'm doing good, Dustin. How are you?
Oh, man, better than I deserve is my normal answer, because it's a statement of grace, and we're all just happy to be alive, I mean,
Good deal, that's for sure.
Some days that's you got everything to be grateful for. Some days you got to find things to be grateful for, but it's all about perspective, I think. So,
Yep.
But so what have you been up to lately? I know you work for TPWD. Talk a little bit about that, and then we'll get into Coastal Brigades.
Yeah, man. So yeah, it's been a busy week for us. I've been with Parks and Wildlife with the Coastal Fisheries Division down here in Galveston Bay for the last 15 years.
Wow.
And I'm the head fisheries technician for the office. And, we're in charge of basically monitoring the populations of the fish, the crabs, the shrimp, and all the stuff that lives here in our ecosystem. And, through our monthly monitoring program, which has been going on for close to 50 years now. And we're getting ready to come up on our spring gillnet season, where we're going to be targeting adult finfish and trying to see how the big fish are doing. And things are looking pretty good. It's shaping up to be a really good this year. So, just the last couple of weeks, I've been seeing posts, some guys catching some really nice trout, and we just had the trout regulations approved, I think, on Tuesday or Wednesday,
Yep.
this week. So it's going to go to 5 fish statewide now. So, which, is a hot topic for sure. But that's what's happened now. And, I think in the long run, it'll be a good thing for everybody. So
What's the reasoning on that, if you don't mind me asking? I mean, I'm not getting into policy. I'm just asking. What the
yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing, we scoped it a few years ago, probably 4 or 5 years ago, and the public opinion was definitely on the side against it at the time.
right.
And we've had a lot of public comments come in, to headquarters and the commissioners, and with all the rainfall and the people catching a lot of trout in the last 2 to 3 years, due to that pulling of the fish, because of salt water. And
Right.
there's been a lot of environmental things, kind of out of our control and stuff. And public opinion's kind of swayed, in personal opinion, to push for the 5 fish. But, there's pros and cons to every side of every subject, but commission moved Parks and Wildlife to scope it again. And this time, the public wanted the 5 fish, and that's what happened on this week at the meeting. So,
Okay, cool. I was just curious because that's going to be the week before, or the week before this podcast airs. So that was the big meeting that they had about the GAR rules that we talked about in a previous podcast. Was another thing. But some of this is controversial and everything like that. But I mean, at the end of the day, I think all of it, and I'm not under comment about the GAR deal, but I think a lot of the rules that come down are based around conservation. Am I correct? I mean, that's what I like to think.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but we do, believe it or not, listen to the public. And
Okay.
I deal with the public on a daily basis. We're pretty much on the front lines of dealing with our constituents, and I really enjoy getting to talk to people about that and
Sure.
learning different perspectives, things I never even thought of,
Yeah.
from a non-biological standpoint. So it's cool getting, to be down here on the ground and interacting with so many different people, guides, recreational fishermen, people who live here on the bay, and people who come down once a year, and so it's kind of it's a very cool job. It's really what I wanted to do coming out of college, and it's basically my dream job. So
Cool. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
You also told me, I don't know if we can talk about this, but you also guide, do you not?
Yeah, I do a little bit on the side. So started that up about 4 years ago.
Cool.
We get quite a few days off, at work, since we
Sure.
work a lot of weekends and stuff. So that affords me a little bit of time to
Good.
help pay for daycare and stuff like that. So two little kids. So, but hopefully eventually once I retire, we'll be going into that full time. So.
Okay, cool. Good deal. So what is your thoughts about being a guide on Galveston Bay? Is that what you said, right? Is your area?
Yeah.
Is that where you guide for the most part then?
Yep. Pretty much.
Okay. How is that? I mean, how is that going? Is the guide business still strong? I mean, I'm just kind of curious because I work with a lot of guides. That's the reason why I ask.
Yeah, there's a lot of guides down here. And there's, in my opinion, there's really no shortage for people wanting to go fishing. So, and it's only going to get better from that aspect.
Yeah.
You definitely have your slow seasons. During hunting season, it pretty much shuts down. I mean, there's a few guys that are really going after targeting big trout and stuff in the wintertime, of course. But, starting spring break, through October, November,
Sure.
is really busy. So a lot of people, there's a lot of corporate clients and things like that. A lot of tournaments now these days.
Sure.
Good gosh, there's 3 to 5 tournaments. It seems like every weekend during the main part of the year. So there's a lot of people on the water. And guiding is kind of like with my state job. I get to meet so many people, and that's been the coolest thing about it. Is and I've had people from all kinds of places. Outside the U.S., all over the United States. So it's really cool getting to meet so many different people coming from everywhere, and some people come in with no expectations, and those are usually the best trips you can have. And you got some guys that come in and all they want to catch is a 25 plus inch trout, and some days it happens and some days it doesn't.
Right.
So,
Right.
but we always have a good time. So that's my favorite thing I tell everybody. I just want everybody to go out and enjoy themselves and make some memories, and try to take a kid fishing whenever we can.
Well, and the two things I want to talk about here about guiding is real quick is have the right expectations. It's not all about the biggest, the baddest, and the best, but just right expectations. I talked about that somewhat on the last podcast that I did before that, a bonus podcast at the Houston Fishing Show. And then also the other thing is if you don't have time, like a guy like me that's really busy in media and everything else that I do and building websites and stuff like that, I will hire a guide versus going and buying a boat. And it just seems more
Absolutely.
economical to do that. I don't know what you think, but I mean, you get to go different places. You don't have to, and I'm not pro or con owning a boat, but I'm just saying that if you're just going to go fishing several times a year and not every single weekend, it's almost more economical to hire a guy like you.
hmm Yeah, and that's kind of the way I look at it, and what try to convey to a lot of people. And I was never really big on. I fished a lot ever since I was a little kid, and I never fished with a guide until I was probably 16, 17 years old.
Right.
I got to go down to Lake Fork at the time I was living in Oklahoma,
Oh,
and
cool.
and he was set on fishing beds the whole day, and we weren't finding any fish, and so man, I tied on a Carolina rig. I was like, hey, can we try it here? And he never even slowed down, but I threw out anyway. I caught like a 6 pounder doing what I thought might work, against what he was. He never slowed down to even, help me with that fish. And that really, it's just like, we're paying for the trip. You should listen to your customers a little bit,
Right.
what they want to do and things like that. And I think finally, I know a couple people here in Texas I love fishing with at least once or twice a year. Michael Littlejohn and his wife Terry up on Lake Tawakoni
Right.
is one of them.
I
And
saw a video from them on Facebook this week. As a
oh
matter of
man,
fact, they
yeah,
killed they caught that big old 67 pound
yeah,
catfish, new junior lake
yeah,
record. I don't know if you saw that or not.
yeah. That was on Noel's boat, and
Yeah.
he just caught the big state record channel cat. I think that's pending, and then the youth state record
Yep.
this week.
Yeah,
So or
this week.
last week.
Yeah, I
So
saw that. It's funny you
um,
mentioned that because I just saw that on Facebook and I'd never heard of those guys before. I work with a guy
yeah,
on Lake Tawakoni every once in a while, and they weren't the ones that I work with. But I mean, that's just kind of cool to see a kid barely hold a fish that big, almost
yeah,
as big as he is. You know,
yeah.
I mean, so
Yeah, we'll get together and go up there and fish with them sometime. So
cool.
that'd be
Yeah,
fun.
that would be
So
fun.
and it's just this is one of those things. You know, I want I get a lot of people from other guides too that come on and say, man, it's like it just wasn't that much fun, and it's, not much interaction. The guides are just concentrated on catching fish, and to
Yeah.
me, that's not like you said earlier. That's not the whole point. You want to get out and have fun. It's your time to get away from work and
Right.
the hustle
Life.
and bustle and enjoy the outdoors, and
Yeah.
especially when you take your kids fishing. And I mean that's my favorite thing to do is to take kids and families out. Do a lot of fishing out at the jetties during the summer, 'cause it's pretty much nonstop. You can catch something all the time, and then. So just like staying busy and making people happy.
Yeah,
So
no, it's about the overall experience that I think most people need to be after when you look at hiring a guide for anything like that. And I didn't mean to get off in the weeds on that. I just kind of thought that's something I wanted to
yeah,
bring up because I just had an experience here recently with a guide that I'll talk about that is really good with my son. I mean, really good with my son as far as making sure he feels the bite, catches the fish, that kind of stuff. You know,
Mm-hmm.
my father-in-law and I are both experienced fishermen, and even us, it was kind of a challenge to catch some catfish this past week. But it was just a blast watching him and Jackson have fun. You know, I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
just a guide and his kiddo on the boat, and the one that he kind of channels toward having a good time, having a good experience with one of those formidable fishing experiences. So anyway,
Mm-hmm.
but
For
yeah.
sure. So
So tell us about your duties with Texas Parks and Wildlife, the things that you do with the fisheries is basically all based around making sure there's enough fish for our future, correct? As far as conservation
yeah.
goes.
So we're the monitor the bay, and the way we do that is we do it with an independent study and a dependent study.
Okay.
In our dependent study, most people are familiar with this side, and that's when we're doing our harvest surveys at all the boat ramps
Oh,
around the
okay.
bay, up and down the coast. And that is an invaluable tool for us to get data from the public on seeing all the species that are being caught and brought and taken home. We measure the links on a certain number of them of each species, not just your game fish, but everything you bring back we're going to measure. It gets 6 measurements off of. We look at how long you're out, what kind of bait you're using, and things like that. And we get a lot of public comments at those, which is good for us. But that's our dependent data that we collect, and our independent data is the stuff that we go out ourselves and get on the boats, and we do that with different gears. We utilize bag seines, which we're collecting smaller stuff along the shorelines, oyster dredges to monitor the oyster reefs. And then we do bay trawls in the bay. We do a certain number of each of these every month, and that's trawls going to catch pretty much anything that's out there on the bottom. And then we also do the Gulf trawls, where I'm the captain of our big offshore research boat, the San Jacinto. We go out in the Gulf twice a month and pull 8 trawls each half. And I was just out Wednesday this week getting those, and catching lots of shrimp right now.
Wow.
Lots of big whites out there right now within 3 or 4 miles of the beachfront. And but everything, we inventory everything gets identified to species, get a length on it, and then get it back in the water. So we do that every month of the year, um, regardless of the weather, which this has probably been the worst winter or spring I've seen in 15 years I've been here. uh,
It's been crazy out there,
it's
hasn't it,
been
man?
ridiculous. Yeah, it's been ridiculous. We've had a tough month in March, and we didn't have really a single day for us to get offshore the first 2 weeks. And but we got out Wednesday and got our samples, and but we do that, and then of course we have our spring and our fall gillnet seasons, and those run for 10 weeks. Um, we start up here in a couple weeks in April, and we'll go through the 1st of June, and we start back up in September, run through the week before Thanksgiving. And just so everybody knows that's listening, our gillnets are clearly marked with large orange buoys, and we don't set these things until right before dark, and then we're back there at daylight to pick them up,
Oh,
to
cool.
reduce our chances of the nets getting run over, and to access the fish that are
Sure.
really utilizing the shoreline, feeding at night. So and keeps our time down as the fish are in the nets. So but we catch a lot of cool stuff in those. And believe it or not, we've seen a pretty big jump in numbers in snook in Galveston Bay, and tarpon. So
Hmm.
we've actually, to most people, some people know there's snook up here. I know several people that are catching them on a consistent basis, but especially down in Christmas Bay, Chocolate Bay, all the little smaller bays down on the west end of Galveston,
Right.
really got a pretty good snook population. But their bite's a little different than trout. It's more like bass fishing for those things, and we've caught some fish, pushing 30 inches down there. But they have made it. I've heard reports last year people catching them all the way up to the Fred Hartman Bridge in Baytown. So
Wow.
they're and they're not. They haven't left with the winners. So I mean, I know some people have caught some this year already.
Huh.
So
Yeah, Chester and I talked about
So,
that on one of our podcasts about tarpon and snook both being
mhm.
fish that you can find in the Gulf of Mexico. Pretty, you don't have to go to Florida to get a good,
Yeah,
I mean, they're obviously Florida is well known for that,
yeah,
but I mean, it's not something that you have to go, to realize because we have a population of them. It's just not a humongous population that everybody knows Texas for. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, yeah.
So
Down
that's
south,
good
they're
to know.
pretty prevalent,
Yeah.
but up here on the upper coast, they're here. They're not in the numbers trout and redfish
Right.
are by
Right.
by far,
Yeah.
but
Sure.
they're definitely catchable. So,
I just
and
think
that's pretty cool. So,
I just think that's cool. I mean, that's just Texas has really got it all, and I mean,
yeah,
for people to listen that are outside of the state, I mean, our fishery is really one of the big draws. Saltwater alone. I mean, we have Texas Saltwater Magazine that just does nothing but saltwater coverage on the Texas
hmm,
coast and offshore and inshore and stuff like that. But our magazine covers freshwater and saltwater and hunting, and it's kind of a mixture of all three because in conservation, wildlife, and that kind of stuff too. Because there's just such a diverse culture here that hunts and fishes, especially the fishes. It's
yeah,
hard to beat, any place else in the
yep.
world, I think. So
Yep,
that's good
and
to know.
sometimes we get freshwater fish down here, and we'll get white bass and occasionally striped bass. We get
Huh?
tons of gar. There's so many gar in the bay down here; it's unreal. Alligator
Alligator
gar,
gar?
and
Oh, cool. That's really cool.
yeah, pretty much the whole bay, has alligator gar in it, and we get a lot of other. We've caught some largemouth and things like that when the salinity's low.
Hmm.
So sometimes you never know what you're going to catch down here. So,
That's really cool, dude. That's really cool. So talk a little bit about Coastal Brigades for me because that's one of the other projects that you're involved in, and everybody knows me from this podcast. I'm part of Camp Agape, Bereavement Camp for Kids. I'm part of Crosswater Outfitters Fishing Ministry for soldiers and international students. I'm part of Hill Country Bow Hunters, Lone Star Bow Hunters Association. I mean, I do a lot of stuff, but a lot of mine's local here in the Texas area. And just give us a little background about Coastal Brigades, how that all got started here in Texas, and what it's all about.
yeah. So Coastal Brigade is actually part of the Texas Brigades program,
Right.
and about 27 years ago, Dr. Dale Rollins, who works for Texas AgriLife up in Coleman County, one of the leading quail experts in the country, started the first camp, and it was the Rolling Plains Bobwhite Brigade. And kind of the initial thought behind this was, he was thinking we really need to empower today's youth at the time in 1993 to kind of come up behind us and replace us, after we move on
Right.
as far as conservation leaders go. And so they wanted to make conservation leaders in every community, so they started with the first camp, and I don't remember how many kids they had, 24 to 30, and it just kind of exploded from there, and started adding additional camps. Right now, we're sitting at about 8 different programs within Texas Brigades as far as the summer camps go. We've got Rolling Plains, Bobwhite, South Texas Bobwhite, North and South Texas Buckskin Brigade, focusing on whitetail deer. We've got the Bass Brigade, Ranch Brigade, Waterfowl Brigade, and Coastal Brigade. So
How cool.
it's really exploded, and and the camps they're 5 days long, and they're in tents. They're we basically call them intensive leadership development camps focused on conservation, and that's really what it is. um, they're they're really a life-changing event for a lot of these kids. A lot of these kids have never been away from home. These kids are anywhere between 13 and 17 years old that apply to come, and some of them it's their first time away from home. So it can really be an eye opener for them, and surrounded by kids from all across the state of Texas. And these kids are the cream of the crop, man. They want to learn, and that's the
Mm.
coolest thing about it. So, and the program wouldn't succeed without the volunteers. I mean, we're all volunteer ran. We have our headquarters in San Antonio, with our executive director and program director, but all the camps are ran completely by volunteers. including myself and my wife. Um, and when we got started, we got asked back in 2009, I think, to start helping with Bass Brigade, which is held up at the Warren Ranch in Santa Ana, Texas. If anybody knows where that's at, just
Yeah, I don't know
outside
where
of
the
Fresno.
Warren Ranch is, but I've got
Yeah,
a client that works in Santa Ana, my side business,
yeah,
and it's a cool area, man. For sure, kind of in
yeah,
the middle of nowhere, but it's kind of
yep,
cool still.
pretty much.
Brownwood
And
area,
that's where a lot of these camps are. They're private hunting lodges out, out in central, north, and south Texas, and we started there in 2010 was our first summer camp there with Bass Brigade, and we started as instructors. And I mean, from the minute we got involved, we knew it was something special and something we were going to be passionate about. I had no idea at the time that we'd be where we are today. This far down the road, with our own camp that we started. But you see the kids, they come in on day one, and we're throwing stuff at them left and right. Our schedule is it's pretty crazy. It's cram packed full of everything you can think of, dealing with conservation, fisheries and wildlife management, land stewardship, conservation, habitat restoration projects. Um, but the biggest thing out of all these camps to me is the public speaking aspect of it,
right?
and the team building and leadership skills that the kids learn. And, when I was younger, I hated getting up and talking in front of people. I mean, I was, for a lot of kids, and even today, sometimes don't want to get up, but we really push these kids to do that through a lot of exciting and fun projects during the week. It's very competitive. The kids are in different groups throughout the week. They come in, they're assigned their team or their school or covey, and there's usually 5 to 6 cadets within each one, and so they're competing all week for top school, for different prizes and things like that. So it really motivates the kids to be really involved and help their teammates out. We do public speaking competitions at camp with like PowerPoint presentations and things like that. All the cadets, when they get there on day one, are given a book with their journal, and it has their quote. And they call them different things at the different camps, but they're called silver bullets or gold hooks or something like that. And it's an inspirational quote, and they're required to memorize that and really give their interpretation of it. So each one is required throughout the week to stand up, tell us their quote, tell us what it means, and really kind of helps them get a different outlook on life and what they're doing at camp. So that's just one of the things that we make them do. Another cool thing that all the camps do are a mock stakeholder meeting, which, you've been to these public hearings at the Parks and Wildlife Commission and things like that. And this is probably one of the kids' favorite things to do is we assign each of the schools a vantage point. So take, for instance, I think last year we did potential trout regulations or flounder. I can't remember. So we would assign one group the recreational anglers, one group was CCA, one group was commercial fishermen, and so on. And they had to come up with their stance on the issues and present it to our mock commissioners. And it's a timed event, just like it is at the real public hearings. And it's pretty cool. Some of these kids really get into it. They get dressed up and, waiters and fishing them and make signs and all kinds of
I
stuff. And
love it.
it's a pretty cool thing to watch and, kind of see what their ideas are on the issues. And it really gives them you know, a vantage point to understand what really goes on, with the government, as far as making regulation changes and things like that. So,
Can I just say
but
that I think it's cool they call them coveys instead of groups?
yeah, for
Because
sure.
I
So,
thought that's kind of neat because that's where it all started was with,
yep,
quail,
yep,
as a thing there. But how cool. I mean, this is the stuff that makes my socks go up and down, guys. I mean,
yeah,
this is the kind of stuff getting kids involved at a level of conservation, at a level of leadership, at a level of speaking and being an active part our future of our fisheries and wildlife and everything else. I mean, I didn't know anything like this existed before I met you. I mean, that's why I wanted to have you on the show, because this is just amazing. I mean, this is
Yeah.
just incredible.
Yeah, it's really cool. And, the other cool thing about it is, like I was saying before, is, it's all volunteer ran. So we
Right.
have people from all kinds of different state agencies that come and are instructors. A lot of them are members of each of the camp committees. We've got people from Fish and Wildlife Service, USGS, NRCS, TCQ, AgriLife, Parks and Wildlife, and a bunch of different others, agencies. And then there's also a lot of private business, that come in, with the hunting camps. And then like ours, we have some guides come in, have some industry professionals come in and speak to the kids. And so, really gives the kids an idea of, hey, maybe they come in thinking they wanted to be a game warden, or maybe they're not going to be a biologist or a game warden or whatever. We need people in all walks of life
Yes.
to understand the conservation message, and that's what this program's all about.
Well,
more people understand, the better the world's gonna be.
well, yeah. I mean, and the thing is, I've said this on the show a bunch of times. So people like Orlando that listen every show will get tired of hearing it. But I saw on a bumper sticker one time: "Kids that hunt and fish don't steal and deal." And that this is growing our leadership in the future of the aspects of getting people involved at a root level, where it's in their soul, that it's not just because it's a good idea because this guy said it was, it's because they believe that.
Yep.
And there's a difference in that, and just saying that because dad said that, or said that because grandpa said that, or the state biologist said that. It's because you are experiencing it at a root level. So, I mean, getting involved in stuff like this, can a person volunteer for something like this?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And that's one of the things I was going to mention. We just had our application deadline ended on March 15th, right after the fishing show, but we're still taking applications, for our wait list, and sometimes people have to drop out the last
Right.
minute, but, so we're still taking applications for kids to be cadets. But as far as the adults, that's probably one of the hardest things to get, is for adults to volunteer to either come and be an adult leader,
Right.
which is basically volunteering for 5 to 6 days, of your time. It's totally free if you're selected, covers all your room and lodging and food and everything. But you would come basically, and the way the coveys or the herds or the schools are set up is you'll have your cadets, your 5 to 6 cadets, and then you're going to have a cadet from the previous year's class or battalion that earned their way back to camp to serve in a leadership role, and they're called an assistant leader. And those kids will actually receive college scholarship monies for doing enough things to come back.
That's
and
great.
some of them are, some of the camps give out some pretty good scholarship money. So each of the schools are going to have their cadets, then their assistant leader, and then one adult volunteer paired with each of the groups. And so the assistant from the year before is really going to help, the adult and the cadets kind of get through the week, because you're not going to know what's coming every day, and they're going to be kind of your guiding light to get through the week, because there's not a lot of sleep, and we're constantly changing topics and this and that. And so it's cool having that person from the year before be there with you, that has the experience and stuff. So
that's, what a great idea too, is just to have people that have served before come back and serve in a leadership role, or been there before and come back in a leadership role. So you really have kind of a mixture of experience levels in there.
Absolutely. So
and this is all about the outdoors. I cannot think of anything cooler. This is just incredible. Wow.
Yeah. And if you start early when you're 13, you can potentially go to 4 or 5 camps and be assistant leaders at multiple camps.
Wow.
And even after that, we have what we call a special agent. And so if they wanted to come back a third year, they can apply for that, doing the same thing, doing these activities outside of camp in their communities and stuff to earn points to come back. And the special agent role is basically it's not a James Bond type role, but it's
not
the
a
name
007 role.
but it's a role that actually helps the staff. They
Okay.
come and help, our instructors, and things like that. So it's kind of a different aspect. And then once they age out of the camps, they can actually then apply to actually become a student worker during the summer for Texas Brigades and get paid to
That's
go
cool.
to the different camps,
That's
help
really
with
cool.
logistics and help the kids with their projects and all that stuff. So, the program keeps going. After that, once the kids between 18 and 23, they can apply to our WILD program, which stands for Wildlife Intensive Leadership Development. And it's basically they meet every quarter. The group that's selected to go through this and introduces natural resource policies and procedures, hands-on field research, career building, and even some professional development to help them grow, into what they're wanting to do. So, and that's a really, there's usually 6 to 8 kids that go through that every year, and that's usually like an 18-month program. So, they get to go to commission meeting, present to the commissioners, and do several field trips and things. So, that's a really unique experience when they're up out of high school into the college years. Um, and then just last year and a half or so, we've been looking at a way to reach kids that are younger, since they can't go to the camps. So we started doing these 1-day Texas Brigades experiences all around the state. And we've done, I think, 4 or 5 last year. I'm hoping that we can do another one here in Houston this year, that's more fisheries related. But they've done some on the dove, um, and different things like that. But it's kind of a 1-day crash course on brigades.
That's cool.
There's a little bit of the team building and the public speaking thrown in there, and the conservation message, of course, and a lot of fun stuff to go with it as well. So, but the main thing is, like you said, you had never heard of this program before, and it's a very grassroots program, and we're really trying to expand our reach and let people know about it. And we've been pretty lucky. We have a booth every year at the Texas Trophy Hunters shows, especially the ones in San Antonio and Dallas.
Sure.
We're usually at the Dallas Safari Club convention.
Cool.
We've been blessed to have a booth the last 5 years at the Houston Fishing Show, thanks to the Martindales. And so we're really, and I can tell that we've grown our audience here in the Houston area just because, I'm in the booth every day of that show, and people are actually coming and looking for us,
Right.
and want to learn more about the program. And we have cadets that come up there now. I was talking to somebody at the show a couple weeks ago, and one of our cadets from our very first battalion came walking by, and I seen him, and he ran up to me, and he just looked at the people I was talking to and just like, this is the best camp I've ever been to. It changed my life.
Oh,
You should really send your kids to this. And then he took off. I talked to him later, but I was like, man, I wish I would have had a camera and videoed that while you were doing this.
testimonial right
So
there.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I
So
mean, that's pretty
that was
cool.
pretty cool. So, but so yeah, I mean, it's the program's growing, and just always trying to find more people. I'm really always pushing to get more people involved. One of the things that all the camps do is pretty much every night, kind of at the end of the day, we kind of have our wind down session. We do a photo highlights of the day, and usually the student workers put together a funny video that they make. Um, Sometimes are a little too funny, but teenagers are kind of crazy
Yeah.
sometimes.
Yeah.
But somebody usually ends up in the water or something at some point during the week.
Some kind of
So
prank. Yeah.
yeah. So it's pretty funny. So everybody, it's kind of like I said, our wind down time. Then after that, we have an invited speaker come and give a Vespers talk, which is just a short motivational, inspirational talk about their life or their careers, or some life lessons they've learned. And we've been really blessed to have some really great speakers come into Coastal Brigades. We've got some really good people lined up this year for some surprises. But we've had Vance from Line Cutters. He came the first year and gave a
Love that
great one.
guy. God.
Hunter Welch, real good friend of ours that owns Fish Sticks Rods, he's
Yep.
came.
I've talked to him
uh,
too.
Chester's came a couple times, and so people like that kind of come in and talk to the kids and give them some good thoughts and stuff, and it's pretty cool, getting to see some of these people. We had Tom Rowland from Saltwater Experience over in Florida Keys last year. He Skyped in and did one with us, which the kids loved, and
that's awesome.
So I'm trying to branch out and get some people from different walks of life. Not all of them are fisheries related for Coastal Brigade. So, but it's just another cool aspect of the whole program. So,
Well, how many kids, I mean, overall in the Texas and Coastal Brigades and whatnot that are involved every year? Do you have a count of that or
we have
around?
we can take roughly 200 kids every year.
Okay.
And then all the adult volunteers and the assistants that go along with it. So we, like I said, the applications, what happens is when you apply to the camp, you can rank what camps you want to go to. Okay. So you can rank, if you wanted to go to Rolling Plains Bobwhite Brigade is your first choice, you mark that as your first one. Then you can put Bass Brigade second, Coastal Brigade third. And what happens is when they apply, the camps will get the applications for their first choice. And if you're selected to go to that camp, then you'll get notified. And if not, you'll get sent to the next camp on your list if that camp's already been filled.
Right.
And all the camps applications are scored. And so we really stress to the kids, put as much information down there as possible. The applications are really easy. It's basically just listing your school activities, extracurricular stuff, church, band, 4-H, FFA sports,
Right.
all that kind of stuff. What you're involved in, and then there's usually 2 short essay questions that we ask the kids to write answers to. And one's, they usually like a leadership, who's a leader in your life, and then maybe a conservation topic that you want to talk about. And so once the kids are selected to go to the camps and they're notified, the tuition to come is only $500. That's what we charge the cadets. And so that
For
basically
all
pays
that,
for
that's a
all your
bargain,
materials,
man.
all your lodging, all your food is covered in that.
Wow, that's amazing.
Now we also offer financial assistance to kids that you can apply when you fill out your application. You can apply for financial assistance, and so we have a lot of donors that if a kid applies to camp and gets accepted, there's no way he's not coming or she. We're going to make sure that they get there regardless if they can pay for it or not. So
right.
those opportunities are there. And so, there's no reason not to apply.
That's really cool. I mean, everybody that wants to go, I mean, that's where can they learn more information about that?
Yep. So all you have to do is go to texasbrigades.org. You can find the applications online, info on all the camps, pictures. You can check out the calendar and see what events we have coming up throughout the year. Resources for the cadets once they've been to camp. We update that where they can print stuff off to hand out to the public and things. And we've also got being a nonprofit organization and volunteer ran for the majority of it, we heavily rely on donations.
Right. I was going to bring that up too. People
yeah,
want to donate.
So that's that option is on the website as well.
Cool.
Everything's tax deductible. We just finished having our big Texas Brigades fundraiser over at the Whitty Museum in San Antonio here a few weeks ago, which was a huge success. And so we've been doing that, and then we're also having one for Coastal Brigade specifically here, which I think I talked to you about it.
Yep.
On May 11th down here in
I was
going to
ask you to talk about that too, because I have the flyer for that here, and I was going to mention that in future episodes of the podcast too.
Yeah.
So talk about that real quick.
So yes, that's going to be we're going to do a big crawfish fundraiser, and this is going to go just directly support the Coastal Brigades program. It's going to be Saturday, May 11th at Walter Hall Park, right over here in Leak City. So it's about a mile off I-45, real easy to get to. We're going to have Kevin Black's going to be coming playing some music. That's Clint Black's brother. And we're going to have a live auction and silent auction, raffles. We're gonna have some firearms we're gonna be giving away, and some games we're gonna be playing. So bring your A game for casting and some other stuff. It's gonna be fun. So, um, one of my best friends down here is Joe Mohan, who owns Chicken Boy Lures, and he's been a tremendous help with us and really been pushing us to kind of do something like this. And so with his help, we put this together, and hopefully we'll make it an annual event. And we've gotten a lot of interest so far, but we really want people to come out. Tickets are going to be pretty reasonably priced, $50 a person to get in,
Oh
and
yeah.
it'll be all you can eat crawfish, and um, we'll have free beer and drinks and stuff for the kids and everything. And then we're probably gonna have some barbecue on the side too for people who don't want crawfish. So, but
Who
we're
doesn't want
offering.
crawfish? No, I'm
I
just
know,
kidding.
right?
I'm sorry. I had to just
So,
interject that point there, but no, I'm
yeah.
just kidding.
So,
No, it's
but
cool.
yeah. If you want to buy a table, a table is only going to be for $500 for eight
Wow.
people, and then you're also going to get at least $200 in raffle tickets with each table sold.
Oh,
So
cool.
to
That's
split up
great.
amongst people. So
Great
it's going to be a fun
fundraiser.
night, man.
Yeah,
I'm really looking
yeah.
forward to it. So
I'm
um,
excited about that, man. That's going to be a great
yeah.
fundraiser for you guys.
So
So, however I can spread the word, on that, let me know. I mean, I can do a thing on our website too at fishgame.com, and just to bring awareness to it, because I think that's some really, really cool stuff that y'all are up to. I mean, again, I'm glad I met you because I wanted to have somebody from Texas Parks and Wildlife on here eventually, but man,
yeah.
I mean, the heart that you and I both share with Chester and all the other guys that I interview on this show, I mean, it's all about, just our next generation, about making sure our hunting and fishing heritage moves on
Hmm.
past our lifetimes, and investing in that youth, which I think is just so paramountly important, if that's even a word, but of paramount importance is what I'm trying to say,
Yeah.
to the future of our hunting and fishing heritage.
Yeah. Absolutely. And it's really hard to explain, what Texas Brigades is to somebody without them coming and see it.
Right.
But the main thing we tell people when I meet them, in the Texas Brigade's motto is, "Tell me I forget, show me I remember, and involve me I understand."
Yeah.
And these kids get to do everything a biologist does, a professional angler. I mean, they're going out on our parks and wildlife boats. They're doing all these different things, using the techniques, the gears that we use, and seeing so they can understand it. And then we have our big fishing side. And that was the other thing I was going to mention is, we do a little fishing at Coastal Brigade and Bass Brigade, while we're down there. And at Sea Star Base in Galveston, we have a big fishing tournament one night. And then we also have a big fly fishing side of our camp as well. We have the Texas fly fishers come in, and have some other volunteers from a couple of the local fly shops here in Houston come down, actually teach the kids how to tie their own
Oh,
flies,
that's cool.
and do some casting and stuff like that. And on the last day, we have a big fly tying competition, which is probably one of their favorite things to do, which is so cool. I didn't start fly fishing until I was in college, so
Me
uh,
neither.
but so that's just one other thing, and the thing that me and my wife Shars, get so much back from this program. That's why I tell the adults when they want to volunteer. I was like, you're gonna learn so much by going to this, and we've gotten to work with so many of these kids after they've graduated and are in college and stuff, and helping them work on projects. I've taken quite a few of them out, to work with me as volunteers so they can get some experience as well doing that. And it's just kind of an ongoing cycle, and I can't wait for my kids to get old enough to go.
That's fantastic. And I mean, that's one reason everybody asks me, why are you involved in so much? And I'm like, man, it comes to a point where you've caught and killed and done everything in the outdoors that you've wanted to do. You want to give back. And I think
Yep.
that's a paramount part of a fisherman's life cycle and a hunter's life cycle in the industry, that you go through these stages, if you will. A lot of people talk about the stages you go through. And that's just one of the stages I'm in my life, where I've done a lot of stuff in the outdoors for myself. I want to do it for other people now, and I
Yeah.
want to give back, because I've been very blessed to, a wall full of fish and game and everything else that I've got on my checklist. It's just about helping other people get to that goal too.
Yep.
So
Yep. And that's what we're all about. So my daughter's itching to get back in the turkey woods. She just turned 5 last month, and took her on her first turkey hunt last year, and finally on the third day we got a really nice tom, and
that's
I've
great.
never seen that girl so excited.
Oh,
She
that's
caught her
wonderful.
she caught her first fish when she was 2 years old, man. It was almost a slot red, and she's been hooked on the outdoors,
Oh,
and,
I
and
love it.
hopefully it stays that way, because I sure love taking her and my little boy out. So
Oh, that's awesome. Derek, how can people find you in social, or how can people get in touch with you?
You can find me. You can just look up my name on Facebook, or check out Coastal Brigades. Just at Coastal Brigade on Facebook, and please go and like the Texas Brigades page as well,
Sure.
to help share what we're doing. And we're constantly putting stuff out there for the public to see. And
Great.
we are actually just got our application in. We're going to be selecting our kids for camp this summer on Tuesday of next week, and be letting them know in 1st of April on who's coming. So can't
Cool.
wait to meet our new battalion of cadets, and hopefully you can get down there for a day this year and check it out.
I'm gonna try for sure. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
So I know it's the week after ICAST, so it's a busy time of the year. But
I think ICAST is during
me and
Camp
you are both
Agape
over
this
there,
year.
so I get back and have one day to get ready, and then
Yeah,
camp starts. So
yeah, it's pretty crazy schedule in the summer. But yeah, I've got Camp Agape is during ICAST this year, so I'm not gonna be able to make it to that. But
oh yeah,
I can try to make it down to your thing for sure. So that's cool.
yeah,
I really appreciate the
cool,
thought on
man.
that. So, well, thanks so much for joining us, Derek. I appreciate your time today.
All right, thanks, man. Thanks, Dustin.
And there he goes, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Derek York. Find him on Facebook. He is very accessible, very easy to talk to, a fun guy to get to know. I see him at ICAST. I see him at the Houston Fishing Show every year. I don't remember if I see him at the Houston Boat Show or not, but anyway, I see this guy all the time, and just he has a great love for life and love for conservation and love for guiding and just all the different things that Texas Outdoors encompasses. I really, really appreciate his duty in serving, and it goes back to something that I've said before in this podcast, and I haven't talked about this in a while, so I hope you guys will forgive me. There comes a point where you've caught and killed a lot of stuff, where you've had a lot of those memories, you've gotten those trophies, you've gotten those big fish or those big bucks or those big exotics and all these things in the record books and all these other things, where it's time to give back. And that's one of the things that I'm really passionate about, because a lot of people ask me. I'm involved in more stuff than most people know. Camp Agape, Bereavement Camp for Children, Crosswater Outfitters, Fishing Ministry for International Students and Soldiers, Lone Star Bow Hunters do their website, do their magazine on their executive council, and Hill Country Bow Hunters, which I do their special events, and I'm an officer there too. And we just, like I said, had the fun shoot this past weekend. Man, the reason I'm involved in all these things, guys, is to give back, because I've been so blessed, not only by the outdoor industry, but by God. But by the universe, or whatever you want to call that. I just believe that we are blessed to be a blessing. And I talked about this on a lot of the Crosswater podcasts that I do. There comes a point in your sportsman's career that you can go out and have a lot of fun for yourself. You can have a lot of fun with your family even. But there comes a point to give back. And I encourage you guys in supporting and donating to organizations like the Texas Brigades, Coastal Brigades, so on and so forth, all these different great nonprofits that are out there that are 501c3s, so you can even write this off in your taxes. Donate a little bit of money to them, okay? Hunters for the Hungry is one that's been close to my heart. Hunters Harvest is another one. These are in the hunting realm. I mean, folks that need the meat, that need the fish in some cases, that need the harvest and stuff that to fill their freezers after you filled yours. So definitely take care of yourself, and don't this is not a guilt trip or anything like that. I'm just asking you or inviting you to consider the fact that it just comes a time it's okay to give back. It's okay to serve. It's okay to donate. It's okay to go forth there, because the gift that you get back from going forth and doing something like that, doing something powerfully to change the lives of somebody else for the better. powerfully to change the lives of somebody that is down on their luck, for instance, in the case of Hope for the Hungry, or the case of Camp Agape, somebody that's lost a loved one. I try to volunteer at camp every year. This year it's over ICAST, so I can't go, but I do their website and do a lot of their behind the scenes support stuff. It's those kind of things that really, really matter. They really mean something to the lives of other people. And here's a weird thing, guys. Legacies are left for the generations that are not even born yet. All right? Legacies are left for the generations that aren't even here yet. And the world is a better place because of you when you serve, when you give, when you love, because we're all created by love. And I don't mean to get off on the weeds here, but I'm just saying the outdoors is a place for, sharing that. Outdoors is a great place for giving back. And I just encourage you in your sportsman's tradition, of course, catch, harvest, do whatever you do in the outdoors, whether that's hunting or hiking or camping or fishing or bow fishing or 3D archery or whatever the case may be. Do all those things and do them well, but also consider giving back a little bit and being a blessing to other people in whatever capacity you can do that, whether that's monetarily, whether that's service and time. There's a lot of nonprofits that need good volunteers that are reliable and dependable. The one thing we say at Crosswater Outfitters is we need reliable men with boats. We're always looking for reliable men with boats. To take these guys fishing, take these soldiers that have served us, it's just about serving others. And there's a saying in sales that we talk about a lot since I sell, part of what I do for a living is sell. It's hard to be nervous when your heart is on service. It's hard to be nervous when your heart is on service. And that's the way I have in my whole life and why I'm involved in all these things, because I want to feel the happiness and the joy for me come from giving of myself, my time, my resources. And I think you'll find that too if you've not already found that in your life, because I know a lot of you guys that are younger that listen to the podcast, a lot of people that are older and that kind of have realized that. But I'm realizing the older I get, and I turned 40 years old this year in May, a couple of months, I'm just blessed to be a blessing. And you guys as listeners are my biggest blessing in the media world right now. Because, thank you for your feedback. Thank you for those of you, especially Orlando, that came by the Houston Fishing Show and told me how much you thought that the podcast means to you. That means the world to me. And I'm going to get off my soapbox here. I just really encourage you to look at organizations like Texas Brigades, see how you can plug in. Look at other nonprofit organizations that you can engage in and involve in. And that's how I got my start in this industry, guys, is just giving. It's just showing up and being of service. You can build a heck of a resume if you're looking to get a career in the outdoor industry at all, or be a pro staff or anything part-time, just by showing up and serving. So just some food for thought there. And also, there's such a great gift that is intangible, that is intrinsic for giving. And I just can't say that enough. It means the world to me, and you guys as listeners to this show mean the world to me. Please tell a friend. Please subscribe. Love to engage with you guys on a regular basis if you're not doing so already. And just love you guys a long time. All right, other thing to today is that we have the newsletter that comes out 3 times a week. Tuesdays, Tactical and Practical Tuesday, Wildlife Wednesday, and the Thursday, Texas State of the Outdoor Nation. 3 newsletters, plus a couple of email blasts that we have coming every couple of weeks, or every week in some cases. We have a couple of email blasts that come out from our sponsors that basically just talk about different products and services they offer, and where you can engage on those. So join that list at fishgame.com. You can also check out a lot of my articles that I've written for the website, fishgame.com. Do a lot of my writing there. You also can check out the digital magazine right now. And the subscription to that's very inexpensive. You can get the print magazine and the digital magazine together for one low monthly price. And we sold a bunch of magazine subscriptions at the Houston Fishing Show. That was a blast. So I want to thank you guys all for coming by, that listened to the show, that went to the Houston Fishing Show and came by and met me and our owner, Artie and Eves, and Roy Neves, our publisher, and Chester Moore and Larry Dalton and the whole crew here from Texas Fishing Game that work here full time. We love you guys. We love you guys all. So thank you guys so much for watching, reading, and listening. Have an awesome day in the outdoors. We'll see you next time.